How much does a doctor earn in the UK? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Again, welcome and thank you so much for joining. My name is Dr. Michael Poplawski. I'm a GP. I will be your tour guide today on this amazing journey of finding out how much doctors in the UK make. My name is Dr. Michael Poplawski and I'm a GP. I work 4 days a week in Manchester as a GP. I'm also a university tutor. So 1 day a week, I work at the University of Liverpool. I'm also a YouTuber. I have a lot of YouTube videos and that's actually going really well for me and it's actually really fun. I'm also a sound engineer. That's a long story, but it is true. Something that's really important here is that I am not a qualified financial advisor. So everything we're going to be talking about today is pretty much for entertainment and information purposes only. And again, why are we talking about this? Now, this definitely isn't to brag. This isn't to trick you. This isn't to kind of entice you to come to the UK, dropping everything. When you are thinking of coming to the UK, you're weighing up a lot of pros and cons, and it is a very difficult situation. But the reason we're really talking about this is so that you can have a sound financial plan. Because if you don't have a sound financial plan, you don't know how much you'll be making. It doesn't matter how much you make, you'll still be broke. And so by knowing how much you can expect to make and then having a good plan, again, you can be rich in that way. And rich means different things for many different people. And we're definitely going to talk about that as well at some point. Right, so you will be familiar with the concept that in the UK and in other countries as well, after medical school, you start as a junior. And then as a junior, you have less responsibility. And at the same time, you will be making less money. But as you level up in your career, again, your responsibility goes up, but also your income goes up. And so we're going to be going through each of those levels. And I'm going to tell you exactly what your basic salary is, to the point where I will also show you one of my pay slips, just so that you can understand that a little bit better. So what does my pay depend on? Well, your pay depends on a lot of things. The first thing is the level, the pay grade, the thing that we just talked about right now. The second is your on-call commitments or your out of hours or extended hours. So in the UK, normal hours are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But as doctors, you will do a lot of out of hours, extended hours. You'll be doing weekends, you'll be doing nights. That's just normal. Just because people are sick 24/7. People don't get sick between 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So obviously they need to be able to have a chat with the doctor outside of those hours, but you will get a premium on top of that. And what that premium is something called banding. So this applies specifically to hospital jobs. A banding is basically a percentage that goes on top of your basic salary. It can be anywhere between 20% and 80%. And realistically, that number depends on how bad your on-call schedule is. So if you're doing every other weekend or you're doing nights all the time, that percentage will be much higher. But if you're doing, for instance, 1 weekend in 5, 1 weekend in 6, again, that banding will be much lower. Are you full-time or are you part-time? So a lot of you guys answered that you're coming to the UK to have a better work-life balance. And part of that is the ability to work part-time. And it's super, super easy to work part-time in the UK. And even myself as a GP trainee, I decided to work part-time for a bit because I had small kids at that time. So I wanted to have 1 day off in the week where I could just hang out with my kids and just get that experience. And the pay is good enough that you can actually afford that in the UK. Full-time, again, is roughly 40 hours. But going part-time is super easy. And people actually encourage that. Right. And finally, your pay can also depend on your negotiation skills. So you might be familiar with the term locum. So locum is a doctor that basically covers shifts that need covering and that suddenly need covering because of sickness or someone has gone off or gone on maternity. So the hospital or the employer will get in touch with you or get in touch with an agency that you're registered with and will say, Mike, are you free? And you're like, well, yeah, kind of. Do you want to come and do some extra work and get some extra money? So as of April 2021, when you're a junior doctor, a house officer, your basic salary is £28,808. But consider banding. So if you are doing a lot of on-calls, you will get like 20% more on top of that. But bear in mind that there are certain expenses that are mandatory in the UK. So your take home isn't 28,000 divided by 12 months. No. So pension, tax, and national insurance. So as you're in FY1, this is probably the car that you can afford. And this looks remarkably similar to the car that I used to drive as an FY1. I had a Kia Rio. So Dacia Sandero, one of the cheapest cars in the UK. If your salary is 28K, this car cost about 10K. So this is what you can buy. So you're going to get a sense, guys, that as you are progressing, as you are leveling up, the salary really increases, and it increases really fast. And so we're going to be showing you exactly how that increases over time. Again, your take home, you're making over £2,000 a month. When you are part of the NHS, there are going to be little tricks to make extra money on top of that. And as you can see here, because I lived in Manchester and I was commuting to Preston, I was able to actually claim back mileage, and that worked out really well. It is a little bit of a faff. You have to kind of read your hospital guidelines, whether you can do that or not. But as you can see, yeah, it was a few £100s. So this was how much I was making. Now, that wasn't going straight into my pocket. Obviously, there are things you have to pay for, which we talked about already. So you decide to actually go into GP training or into ST training to become a consultant. And again, big boost, as you can see here. So you're pretty much £10,000 better off than you were as an FY1, as the junior doctor, as the lowest level. And realistically, when you are FY1 and FY2, if you do start looking for a mortgage at that point, or you're thinking of buying property, a good mortgage advisor will be aware of this, that over the next few years, your pay scale will jump a lot. So they might actually recommend getting a house that is a bit more expensive, because they know that in 2 years, you will be covering the mortgage payments easily through your natural progression within your career. Where you guys are from, what you're thinking of, what kind of specialties you're looking at. And I will expand on that depending on what I see here. So right, wow, what an amazing spread. So there's a big mix here. So yeah, a lot of you guys are thinking surgery, a lot of medics, a few GPs, a few gynaes. You might be wondering why I wrote Cinderella specialty. Again, I don't know if this term is still used, but essentially these are the hospital specialties where you don't really do on-calls. So you don't really do weekends, you don't really do nights. That is slowly changing. Now, how much you will be paid depends on whether you're a salaried doctor. So a salaried doctor or a partner. A salaried doctor is a doctor who is employed by the GP practice, comes in and has, a certain amount of sessions, a certain amount of patients they need to see, and they will get a regular salary that doesn't change month on month. It should increase every year, but that's a different topic. Every month you're getting the same amount. And for 9 sessions, it's roughly £90,000. Roughly you will get about £10,000 per session. Something that's interesting is that in London, generally you will get £2,000 more per session, just because London is so expensive. I mean, you still might want to go to London because it is a pretty crazy place, a really fun place to live, but it is very expensive, and so you will get more money. Now, as a partner, you are self-employed effectively. You run the business, you run the practice. So NHS England hires you to run that practice and to serve patients within your area. But they had this amazing table where they compare the cost of living in different parts of the UK, but also compared it to different countries. So if you look at the cost of living generally, your monthly rent for a 1-bedroom flat in the city centre in London is £1,662. Now, if as an FY1 your take home is £1,700, you probably won't be able to afford to live alone in a 1-bedroom flat in London. As you can see, again, when you go to different areas in the UK, the cost of living is much lower. So Manchester, dramatically lower than London. Again, if you go outside of Manchester and you go to Wales, for instance, again, the cost of a bedroom flat will probably be half of that, will probably be about £400, £500. But again, there are always pros and cons, especially if you're at the beginning of your career. You might want kind of a bustling city. You might want the excitement and the opportunities with that. Or actually, you might feel that you want the beautiful countryside of Wales or Scotland, that kind of thing, where the cost of living is much less. I know a lot of doctors, GPs, for instance, who sold their 2-bedroom flats in London to be able to buy a 3-bedroom house, semi-detached in Manchester. That's kind of the conversion ratio there.
Today's webinar will be delivered